My name is Isabella. My husband divorced me and threw me out of the house. When I arrived at my brother's place, he was far from pleased to see me. He said, "Look, sister, I have my own young children to take care of. Inflation is skyrocketing. I can't afford to support you, nor should you expect me to arrange another marriage for you. It's better if you figure out your own living arrangements." I stared at him in disbelief, my eyes wide with shock. At that moment, my sister-in-law grabbed my bag and tossed it into the courtyard, yelling, "Get out of here." Sobbing quietly, I picked up my bag and left the house. Just then, Charlotte, a neighbor, noticed me. She took my hand and led me to her home. The next morning, she brought me to the mansion where she worked. As soon as I saw her employer, I quickly covered my face with my scarf because I was silently sitting in my late mother's room, holding my brother's innocent son in my lap, trying to stay out of sight. From my brother's room, the sound of a heated argument pierced through, squeezing the life out of me. The couple had been fighting bitterly for a while, and the sole reason for their dispute was me. Why had I suddenly shown up at their house after my divorce? This house technically was mine too. It was in my father's name, and I was entitled to an equal share of it as my brother, as per our inheritance. But as they say, once a daughter is married off, she no longer has a home. Moments later, the door to the room swung open, and my sister-in-law, Amelia, stormed in. I was terrified at the sight of her. Before I could say anything, she snatched her son from my lap and glared at me, spitting out, "Don't you dare touch my child, you barren woman." With that, she stormed out of the room. I watched her leave, my eyes brimming with tears. Before I could say or do anything, my brother entered the room and said, "Isabella, why do you keep going near my son? I've told you so many times to stay away from him, not to hold him, but you never listen. You always do whatever you want. You've turned our lives into a living hell." I immediately tried to explain, "Brother, I was just bathing him. He's my nephew too. Don't I have the right to love him? It's been a week since he's had a bath. Children can fall sick like this, and your son is already so young." Before I could finish, my brother cut me off, saying, "What do you know about raising children? Do you have a bunch of kids of your own? You don't even have one child. Your marriage barely lasted a year, and now you've come back to our doorstep with a divorce. I can barely manage my own expenses. How am I supposed to support you? I can't even arrange another marriage for you, because I don't have a single penny to waste on a woman like you, who couldn't even keep her marriage together for a year. Our parents' souls must be so ashamed seeing you. You've left us with no dignity to face anyone." His words felt like they were draining the life out of me. This was the same brother who once would have given his life for me, and now he stood before me, speaking so cruelly. Tears streamed down my face. Before I could respond, he marched toward my wardrobe, muttering, "I can't tolerate you anymore." He pulled out my suitcase and began stuffing my clothes into it. I pleaded, "Brother, what are you doing? What terrible mistake have I made to deserve such harsh punishment? Please don't do this. I'm your sister." I felt like a lifeless object, unable to believe this was the same brother who once fought anyone who dared to look at me wrongly, who loved me endlessly and never let me lack for anything. But today, that same brother was throwing his widowed sister out of the house, turning my life into a spectacle. He packed all my clothes into the suitcase, threw it into the courtyard, and said, "I can't bear your burden anymore. There's the door. Please leave and never come back." With that, he pushed me toward the exit. Sobbing, I begged, "Please, brother, don't do this. Please, for God's sake, don't throw me out of this house, brother. Where will I go? This house is my only shelter. I have no other home." I pleaded, tears streaming down my face. But he wasn't ready to listen. Ignoring my words, he snapped, "That's not my problem. I have my own children and wife to look after. I can't bear your expenses. It's better if you leave." He continued, "As for your inheritance, if I find the time, I might give you your share. Honestly, you don't deserve anything because I paid for your entire wedding with my own hard-earned money. If your husband sold off your dowry, what am I supposed to do about it? Just go." Sobbing, I begged, "No, brother, Please don't do this. I swear I'll never even glance at your son. I'll help with all the household chores. I'll take care of everything for Amelia, your wife. Please have mercy on me. Where will I go? I have nowhere else. Will I live on the streets? But he looked at me coldly and said, That's not my concern. Go wherever you want, live wherever you want, but get out of my house. His words were sharp, and he began pushing me toward the door. I couldn't understand what had happened to him. It had only been 20 days since my divorce, and the pain of it still hadn't left my heart. Now my brother was adding a new wound. His behavior was suffocating me. I could barely breathe. He grabbed my belongings and threw them out into the alley, then pushed me out, saying, Don't ever come back to this door. Get out. With that, he slammed the door in my face. I broke down, sobbing uncontrollably, banging on the door in desperation. Brother, please open the door. I'm your sister. For God's sake, have mercy. But he didn't open it. How could he be so heartless? How could he not see his own sister's pain? I never imagined that a brother could change so much after marriage. I couldn't believe it. With nowhere else to go, I sat by his doorstep, crying. After a while, I felt someone watching me. Startled, I looked to my right, nothing. Then I turned to my left, and there stood Charlotte, a neighbor from our locality. I quickly stood up, not wanting to make a spectacle of my brother's reputation. No matter how bad things got, the bond of a brother and sister never truly breaks. Even though I felt hatred toward my brother and Amelia at that moment, I didn't want to tarnish the respect my father and brother had built. Silently, I picked up my belongings and started to walk away. Suddenly, Charlotte rushed toward me, grabbed my hand and said, Isabella, you just got divorced, didn't you? Where are you going with your things? Did your brother throw you out? Did he toss your belongings into the street? Tell me the truth. Why were you crying and banging on the door? Your mother, before she passed, asked me to keep an eye on you. She didn't ask me to look after her son, but she made me promise to check on her daughter. When you were at your in-laws' place, I used to ask your brother about you since I didn't know their address. Now that you're back, I never see you outside. I tried to visit, but Amelia always stopped me. I've only ever spoken to her, never you. But seeing you today, something doesn't feel right. Tell me, what's going on? Her words brought tears to my eyes. Charlotte was my mother's closest friend. They shared a deep bond. Before I could say anything, she held me and said, Come with me to my house. Your mother did so much for me. I won't let you be humiliated like this in front of everyone. It's clear your brother has thrown you out, but I won't let you be ruined like this. Hearing her, I pulled my hand away and said, Auntie, I don't want to talk about this. I was on my way to a friend's place, my heart heavy with the weight of what had happened. What's done is done, I told myself. Talking about it now will only bring more pain. I was trying to move forward when Charlotte, an elderly neighbor, gently grabbed my arms, her eyes full of concern. No, dear, don't think like that. Come to my house and tell me what happened, she insisted. Before I could protest, she ushered me into her small home and sat me down in the courtyard, handing me a glass of water from an earthen pot. I didn't want to drink, but the warmth in her gesture made it impossible to refuse. My own brother, my flesh and blood, hadn't cared for me, so how could I turn away from this kind woman? I quietly took the glass and sipped the water. As I did, Charlotte looked at me and said, Now tell me truthfully, Isabella, what happened? For a moment, I stayed silent, my emotions in disarray. Then, in a broken voice, I began, My sister-in-law thinks I've come to their house to take it from her. She believes I'll turn her husband against her, steal her children's love. But why would I do that? If God wills it, I'll remarry someday. I'll have my own children, my own family. Yet she sees me as some cruel villain, as if every mistake is my fault. I paused, then added, Charlotte, you know why my marriage ended, don't you? She nodded immediately. Yes, dear, I know. No woman could spend her life with an addict like him. Not only was he a drunk, but he was also a despicable man, trying to sell you off. Thank God the people in your in-laws' neighborhood were kind, or who knows where you'd be today. Her words hit me hard, and I continued, "You're absolutely right, Charlotte. I didn't ask for the divorce, he gave it to me himself in his senses. I came to my brother's house believing he'd treat me like a daughter, not a stranger. But I never imagined he could be so heartless." Tears streamed down my face as I spoke, and Charlotte, trying to comfort me, said, "My dear, don't lose heart. But tell me, how did this all start?" Wiping my tears, I looked up at the sky and said, "When you have no parents to shield you, no one to stand by you, even the smallest thing can be twisted into a reason to cast you out. All I did was bathe my sister-in-law's child. He hadn't been bathed in a week. I thought, if she doesn't have time, I'll do it. She doesn't even seem to care about her own children's condition. What great sin did I commit? He's my nephew, my own blood." Charlotte listened and sighed. "Dear, in today's world, no one understands this. Especially not a child's aunt. If the child turns out bad, they'll blame the aunt. If he turns out well, they'll credit the maternal aunt. This prejudice is something none of us can erase. Now tell me, what are you going to do next? What have you planned for your future? That house is your father's, your home. Don't let them drive you out. They're only trying to ruin your life. Stand up for your rights." Sobbing, I replied, "Charlotte, if it were that simple, I would have stood up already. My brother says he spent lakhs on my wedding. But you know he gave me used furniture, nothing more. Still, I stay quiet and listen to whatever he says. He did arrange my marriage, and that's enough for me. I don't want anything from the inheritance. All I need is a roof over my head and my brother and sister-in-law's love. I just want peace. For that, I'd work as their maid, do all the household chores, anything. But I can't be thrown out like this." Charlotte fell silent for a moment, then looked at me and said, "Isabella, if you're willing to work hard, why not claim what's rightfully yours? That house is yours, your father's legacy. No one can take it from you. And if you can work, don't live off their scraps. Build something for yourself first, then stand tall before them. Demand your share of your father's inheritance. Asking for your right is not a sin. At my workplace, I spoke up for you. If you're ready, you can start coming with me to work from tomorrow and put your heart into it. My employer, Amelia, had already asked me to find a reliable girl for her. Since you need a job, this opportunity would be perfect for you. Amelia needs a full-time helper to manage her household chores. She runs her own business and has to travel frequently, so her house often remains neglected. I'm getting old now, and I can't handle all the work alone. I do what I can, but Amelia really needs a trustworthy maid. She trusts me the most, which is why she asked me to find someone dependable, someone like me but younger. So, tell me, are you ready? Apart from me, Amelia doesn't trust anyone easily. But when I bring you to her, she'll trust you too. After all, you're like a daughter to me. What do you think?" Hearing this, I immediately grabbed Charlotte's hands and, looking at her, said, "Yes, Aunt Charlotte, if this works out, I'll be forever grateful to you. My mother's soul would find peace. I'll pray for you all my life. Thank you so much for helping me like this. I don't even have a place to stay. If you make this happen, God will always keep you happy." Charlotte listened and said, "Yes, my dear Isabella, if it were possible, I'd let you stay in my small house. But my daughter-in-law is your sister-in-law's friend, and they're so close that she'd never let you settle here. You never know when someone might make accusations. I can't let you face such humiliation. Your mother did so much for me. When I had no food at home, your mother used to save some of her own bread for me. I can't forget those days. If her daughter is in trouble today, I'll stand by you. A parent's good deeds always come back to their children, and now your mother's kindness will come to you. Come on, gather your courage and stand up. Today itself, I'll talk to Amelia and get you a job there. You'll get a place to stay, breakfast, 2 meals a day, and a salary too. You don't need to worry anymore. You have your aunt like a mother to you by your side. They say if a mother passes away, an aunt holds the same place." Her words made me burst into tears again. But Charlotte hugged me and said, "My dear, don't cry. Be strong, have courage. Has crying ever solved problems? It never will." Her encouragement truly steadied me. She went to her room, picked up her bag, and started walking with me. I didn't even have a single rupee to pay for transport. My brother had only packed my clothes in a bag. I had none of my essential belongings, nor was I allowed to pack them. Though I had many personal items from my in-laws' house in my room, I couldn't take them. We walked for a while. Charlotte, being poor herself, couldn't afford unnecessary expenses. But for my sake, she eventually hired a rickshaw. We reached Amelia's house in it. Her house looked grand and beautiful, with a lovely garden and a fountain. It felt like I had stepped into a magnificent palace. As I entered the mansion, my eyes widened in awe. I had probably only seen such a grand house in movies or TV shows. Charlotte squeezed my hand and whispered, "Isabella, don't look around too much. Amelia can be very particular. If she finds your behavior off, she might not hire you." Hearing this, I immediately straightened up. Suddenly, a young girl approached Charlotte and said, "Oh, mother, how are you? Why are you here? Madam said you'd only come on Sundays when her husband is home.
You should leave now."
Why have you come?" Charlotte quickly replied, No, dear, I'm not here for myself. Madam said she needed a girl, and I've brought her. Please go inside and get permission. Well, come in. Madam is coming herself." Hearing this, the girl looked me up and down, and then silently went inside. I held Charlotte's hand tightly and said, "Auntie, will these people hire me, or will they refuse?" She squeezed my hand gently and replied, "My dear, stay strong. Don't lose hope or get discouraged. If you give up now, you'll never achieve anything." Despite her words, I was still nervous. I knew this anxiety wasn't just about her advice. Something else was bothering me. A few moments later, a woman appeared, descending the stairs. I immediately looked up toward the staircase, and in the next moment, my breath caught in my throat. I had no idea that fate would bring me face to face with my past like this. Instinctively, I pulled my scarf over my face, trying to hide. Amelia, noticing my actions, said, "What's wrong, dear? Why are you covering your face like that? Is something the matter?" I didn't respond, leaving her puzzled. She took my hand and whispered, "This is the lady of the house. Just watch, I'll talk to her, and she'll hire you right away. Don't be scared, and make sure to speak politely. Agree with whatever she says. She's a very strict woman, and if she takes even the slightest offense, she might get angry. So, try to stay quiet." I didn't reply, overwhelmed with worry. A new fear had now gripped my mind. The woman approached us, standing close to me and Charlotte. Before she could say anything, Charlotte stepped forward, greeted her softly, and said, "Madam, this is my niece, Isabella. She's not my real sister's daughter, but she's no less than family. Her mother was like a sister to me. This poor girl has no one to support her. She's going through a tough time. Her brother kicked her out of the house, and her husband divorced her. He was a terrible man. He not only left her, but also tried to exploit her. Thanks to the kindness of the neighbors, she was saved, or who knows where she would have ended up. She was sitting at her doorstep, crying, when I found her. If I hadn't seen her, she might be wandering the streets today. Then I remembered you mentioning you needed a full-time maid. Isabella is hardworking and knows all kinds of household work. She's very skilled and won't give you any reason to complain. Please give her a chance and hire her." The woman looked at me and asked, "How old are you?" Her question made me tremble. My heart was pounding because I knew if I spoke and she recognized my voice, she might realize who I was. She could throw me out of the house and even tell the neighbors not to give me work. I was terrified. I glanced nervously at Charlotte, who quickly stepped in and said, "Madam, she's young, about 22 years old. Her mother arranged her marriage early, but sadly, she passed away a few months after the wedding. Isabella won't give you any reason to complain. Her name is Isabella, and she's a lovely girl." The woman looked at me and said, "All right, fine. Charlotte, come inside. I'll hire this girl. I'll discuss the rest with her myself. You only need to come on Sundays from now on. My husband likes your work and enjoys the food you cook." He prefers your cooking over anyone else's. I'll also pay you extra for bringing Isabella here. Charlotte quickly grabbed her hand and said, "Oh no, madam, I don't need any extra money. Just take good care of Isabella. She's like a daughter to me, with no mother and no support from her brother. She has no one. Please don't throw her out. If you ever feel the need to let her go, just let me know first. I'd be so grateful." Charlotte turned to me and said, "Look, Isabella, work here honestly. I don't want any complaints about you, but I have full faith that you're a good girl and won't give me any reason to worry. All right, I'll take my leave now." As Charlotte was about to leave, saying, "Take care of yourself," I wanted to stop her. I wanted to tell her that I didn't want to work here. This place didn't feel safe for me at all. This woman would throw me out the moment Charlotte left. All it would take was for my face to be revealed, and all my secrets would come spilling out. But Amelia didn't even give Charlotte a chance to linger. She looked at her and said, "Enough, Charlotte. You've said all you needed to. Now go. I have a meeting to attend." Charlotte, with her head bowed, quietly walked out. The moment she left, Amelia turned to me, a smile playing on her lips. "Come on, girl, follow me. Let's sit on the sofa and talk." Her tone was teasing, almost as if she had already recognized me. My heart began to race. I still had my scarf covering my face, but it felt like my heart was pounding in my ears like a drum. I took a deep breath, wiped the moisture from my eyes, and followed her, terrified she might ask me to uncover my face. As I trailed behind her, I couldn't help but think of my brother. If only he hadn't thrown me out of the house, if only he hadn't stripped me of my rights, I wouldn't be facing this humiliation today. Silently, I glanced at her and sat down on the sofa across from her. But before I could settle, Amelia snapped, "I'm Sushmita Sawhney, the mistress of this house. You're not here to sit on sofas like you own the place." Her words froze me mid-motion. I struggled to keep my composure, closing my eyes tightly. A memory flashed in my mind, a moment when this woman had stood before me with folded hands, and I had ignored her and walked away. Blinking back the tears welling in my eyes, I quietly sat on the floor near her. Before I could say anything, she reached out and, in one swift motion, pulled the scarf off my face. I instinctively tried to cover my face with my hands, but she gently pushed them down and said in a soft voice, "I never imagined you'd end up here, of all places. I can't believe how small the world is. I recognized you the moment I saw you. Those eyes of yours, I could never forget. I knew it was you just by looking at them." She continued, "I can deny myself once, but not you. I still remember everything. I won't dwell on the past because that's not my way. What's done is done, and that time is gone." Charlotte has always been special to me, and I'd never dismiss her recommendation. My husband considers her like a mother, so you mean a lot to me in that sense. I'll always regret what happened to you. It was unfair, and honestly, it saddens me. I didn't respond, just sat there with my head bowed, listening intently. My heart felt like it was breaking. I wanted to scream and cry, but I didn't have the liberty to do so. Amelia looked at me and continued, "I'll pay you $1,000 a month. You'll take care of the house, because I'm always busy with work. I can't manage household chores alongside my external responsibilities. I simply don't have the time. You'll handle the kitchen too, and stay in the servants' quarters. I don't want any complaints about you. Whatever happened between us in the past is over, buried with time. I don't want you to bring it up, and I won't either. You know how to cook, don't you?" She shifted the conversation, perhaps sensing my discomfort. One thing I admired about her was that she never intentionally hurt anyone with her words. Maybe because she had experienced pain herself, she considered it wrong to inflict it on others. I nodded and said, "Yes, I know all household work. My mother taught me everything before my marriage." Before I could say more, she interrupted. "Wait a second. When did you get married, and why did your husband divorce you?" Charlotte's explanation wasn't clear, so I'm asking you directly. I took a deep breath, lowered my head, and said, "My husband was an addict. To feed his addiction, he sold me off. By the grace of God, the neighbors were well aware of my husband's behavior. When buyers came to take me away, the neighbor stood by my side and saved me from him. He was furious, shouting at everyone, including the neighbors. He needed to vent his anger somewhere, and when his plan failed, he divorced me. It's been a month since the divorce. I was staying at my brother's house, but he, too, abandoned me. I didn't know where to go, but as they say, the Almighty promises to provide sustenance for every soul He creates. And so, He brought me to your doorstep. She listened to my story in silence for a while, then looked at me and asked, "In this past year, you haven't had a child, have you?" Her question pierced my heart like a dagger. I knew why she asked. Every moment of the past year flashed before my eyes. With my head bowed, I replied, "Yes, we never had a physical relationship." He thought coming close to me was beneath him. This entire year, I lived only as his wife in name. She didn't respond to my words. Instead, she called the other maid in the house, Charlotte, and handed me over to her. Charlotte took me to the kitchen and began explaining the small tasks I was responsible for. For instance, I was entrusted with preparing all the meals. I was skilled at cooking, and tonight's dinner was my responsibility. I started preparing the food, immersing myself in the work. The pain I had endured in a single day was overwhelming, and all I wanted was rest. My mind was far from stable, and my head throbbed with pain. But I couldn't complain or show any weakness. My circumstances no longer allowed me to fuss, confide in anyone, or share the state of my heart. Silently, I began my work. I spent 3 continuous hours in the kitchen, preparing a hearty meal, rotis, boiled rice, and custard for dessert. Tonight, her husband was expected to arrive, so I was tasked with arranging the entire meal. Otherwise, Charlotte told me that Madame Amelia usually ate only diet food. After serving the food, I was given my share and went straight to my quarters, a small, modest room with a tiny bed. At that moment, it felt like paradise, a place where I could sit with some sense of belonging. But a fear lingered. What if her husband didn't accept me? What if he fired me? Madame Amelia had accepted me, but I didn't know her husband's stance. The painful memories of my past were tied to him, intensifying my dread. I hadn't even taken a bite of my food when the wooden door of the servants' quarters creaked. I looked up to see Charlotte standing there. She said, "Isabella, Madame Amelia is calling you to the dining room. Come quickly." I was startled and asked, "Why? What happened?" She explained that Madame's husband had arrived, and they wanted to introduce me, the new maid, to him. "Hurry up," she urged. "Madame doesn't like to be kept waiting." Her words choked me. I wanted to refuse, to tell her to go back and say I couldn't come, but my tongue felt paralyzed. I knew Madame Amelia might be calling me to humiliate me. I remembered how she had cried in front of me in the past, and how her husband had threatened me, saying, "If you ever cross my path again, I won't spare you." Those memories made my heart race with fear. My body trembled, and cold sweat broke out. But I was so helpless that I had no choice but to go. After all, I needed this job. Refusing could put my employment at risk, a risk that was already looming. Taking God's name for strength, I walked toward the dining room, bracing myself for the worst. I was prepared to face humiliation or even dismissal. Summoning every ounce of courage, I entered the bungalow. As I approached the dining room, the terrifying moment I had dreaded and prayed to avoid stood before me. There he was, Madame Amelia's husband, sitting at the dining table with her. He was strikingly handsome and clearly wealthy, but to me, he seemed like a figure from a nightmare. I had lightly knocked on the glass door, invoking the name of the Almighty. From inside, Charlotte signaled for me to come in. With hesitant steps, I entered the room, my heart racing. As I approached, Charlotte looked at me and said, "Don't be afraid. Come sit with us." I quickly responded, No, Charlotte, I've already eaten." Before I could say more, her husband, looking at me, said, "Sit down, Isabella. I'm not scolding you. Charlotte has told me everything about you. I feel so sorry for what you've been through. Hearing about your life has been truly painful. Life can bring us to such crossroads without warning. It's not your fault. Circumstances force people into such situations. It was written in your fate. But now, I pray that everything turns out well for you. Come, sit. Seeing their kind demeanor, I could hardly believe my eyes. Deep inside, I felt a sense of calm. Yet, tears welled up in my eyes. In my heart, I thanked the Almighty for not letting me run away from this place out of fear. I had mustered the courage to face them. If I had fled, I might have lost this job for no reason. Who knows what would have happened to me then? I might have been left wandering aimlessly. With my head bowed, I sat on the chair next to Charlotte. She kindly prepared a plate of food for me. Just as I was about to take my first bite, Charlotte's voice rang out. She said, "Ever since you told me about your life, about how you could never be intimate with your husband, I was deeply shocked. No woman should have to go through that." Hearing this, I turned red from head to toe. I had no idea she would bring up such a personal matter in front of her husband. They were very modern, and for them, such topics were casual. Before I could respond, she continued, "The offer I made to you 1.5 years ago still stands. My intentions were never bad. When I heard about your life, I decided that some things are beyond our control. Perhaps life wanted to teach you a lesson, which is why you refused back then. But I promise you, we will never make you feel like a third wheel. Every woman desires a happy life. If this opportunity is coming your way, I still believe you shouldn't let it slip through your hands again. Right now, you need support, a place to call home, food to eat, and someone to help you, and we are ready to give you all of that." She looked at me with hopeful eyes. I immediately said, "You've forgiven me for my behavior back then. I treated you so badly." Before I could say more, her husband spoke up. "As my wife said, we were deeply moved hearing about your life. Just as we were left speechless, you too should forget everything that happened. What's done is done. But yes, that offer still stands, and now I'm confident you won't refuse it. I believe you'll embrace this relationship and understand us both. So, do you accept?" I stayed silent for a moment. Then, looking at both of them, I asked, "Will you accept me in front of the world?" I hadn't even finished when Charlotte said, "I promise you, your wedding will be grand. I'll stand by you myself. I know it won't be easy for me, but I have full faith in the Almighty. I want to give my husband a child, his bloodline. We're wealthy enough to adopt 10 children easily. With my husband's wealth, properties, cars, everything, we could have that. But we can't get the bloodline we've been yearning for all these years. Initially, I only asked you for a child. But now you're alone, with no one to call family. So, I'm giving you this option. My husband will marry you. He will give you the rights of a wife. I realized when I first proposed this, you were unmarried, and every girl dreams of a husband who is hers alone, not shared. But now I know you've endured pain. I don't think you'll refuse this offer because this time, along with the offer, you're getting support, a lifetime of companionship, and a relationship." I had no objections. I would happily accept everything. I looked up at the man sitting in front of me. He was about 10 years older than me. His wife was around the same age. I stayed silent for a while, then nodded and said, "All right, I agree." And with that, I returned to my quarters. The woman was none other than the daughter of my college principal. She had seen me there and later called me to make an unusual offer. She told me, "Spend some time with my husband. If you bear his child, he'll give you a lot of money. I know you come from a poor family. My husband can provide you with so much wealth because I can't have children. I'm infertile and will never be able to have a child. I really like you, and after looking into your background, I thought you'd be perfect for this. Your family will agree too." At that moment, I wasn't happy with her words at all. I lashed out at her saying, "What do you think I am? A baby-making machine? If you're infertile, how is that my problem? We have no connection. Leave me alone. If you're so desperate, go adopt a child." She stood there, hands clasped, crying bitterly, pleading, "Please don't say that. I promise I'll give you anything you want. Whatever you ask for, I'll provide. I'll let you spend time with my husband as long as you want, and I'll step back completely. All I want is a child." At that time, I was filled with pride. This offer wasn't something a young, unmarried woman should entertain. I should have politely refused, but instead, I hurt her feelings and said harsh, unnecessary things. Now, as a result, I was left with labels: a barren woman, a divorcee, and countless accusations. But as they say, patience holds great strength. The next day, I was quietly married to her husband. Amelia, the woman, was in a terrible state during the wedding. Charlotte, my aunt, was also present at the ceremony. Amelia had shown me mercy. Instead of offering me money again, she gave up her entire husband for the sake of a child. She knew I was broken inside. Money, wealth, and property mean nothing without relationships and support in life. So, she sacrificed all her happiness and gave her husband to me, just for the sake of a child. I accepted her husband as my own with a true heart and prayed to God to bless me with a child. Not just because my marriage was tied to this arrangement, but because I wanted someone who would truly be mine. That's a woman's perspective too. My child would come from my womb, a part of my body, someone I could call my own and who could call me theirs. By God's grace, just 2 months later, I received the good news. I was pregnant. I was living a life of comfort. Amelia, true to her word, transferred half her property to my name. She lived with us in our home, but never interfered in our lives. She even performed my baby shower ceremony with her own hands. I had decided that when my child was born, I would place them in Amelia's arms first because she had made immense sacrifices for this child. I would tell her, "This is your child. I'm just the one giving birth. You raise this one, and the next child will be mine." As they say, when you ask God with a pure heart, He grants you abundance. 9 months later, God blessed me with twin boys. At that moment, I placed one son in Amelia's arms and kept the other with me. She cried so much holding that child that tears welled up in my eyes too. It's been 5 years since my marriage. I know her husband loves her the most because they've both made sacrifices for each other. But that doesn't bother me. Coming into this home, even if just through a nominal relationship, gave me so much. I didn't need her husband's love because I had my child now. I love him dearly, and there's no void left in my life. Amelia and I never fought or argued. Through Charlotte, I learned that my brother was in a bad state and wanted to meet me, but I refused outright. When I needed him, he threw me out of the house without a second glance. So, why should I face him now? It's better that he lives his life, and I live mine. I'm still very happy in this home. I'm pregnant again, and pray to God for a daughter this time, as my 2 boys eagerly await a sister. My life is now full of joy and contentment. I hope you liked the story. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and don't forget to hit the notification bell.